classification of the ink. So these are the symbols that we currently recognize. Again, these are a very small subset. There's still a long way to go. There are a lot of things that we don't do yet, but this is a small subset, and these are all discrete symbols. No continuous symbols yet, like beams. So these are the ones we know. So how does the classification work? It's effectively bidirectional nearest neighbor Euclidean distance. So we're gonna take one of these drawn things and take one of the templates, and we are going to normalize them by scale, and we are going to normalize them to a fixed number of equidistant points. And in this example, we have drawn what I think looks like a treble clef, and then here we're comparing it to the treble clef template, which is in black here, and here we're comparing it to the eighth note template. And you can see just by taking a rough look at this that overall, if we take the mean of all these nearest distances, probably going to be less over here, probably going to be a lot more over here where we have this thing that looks like a big bicycle spoke. All these are going to add up, and when we take the mean of them, it's going to be a longer distance, and we are going to say, hey, no go. So the language model is how all the pieces fit together when we have these symbols, and the way we've done this is pretty crude. It is a hand-coded collection of bigrams. It basically says, hey, we think this symbol is pretty likely to follow this next symbol, etc. A more sophisticated way would be to actually train some kind of model like that on a large corpus of symbolic music, so you can get a little bit better model. So the next thing we do is we typeset the results. How about a little interlude? We've sort of pre-generated this example. It's kind of cheating, but we'll ask Sam to play it. So excellent, thank you. So this is typeset using an embedded font from the LilyPond project. It's called the Feta font, and we're actually embedding these symbols. And we're drawing them on the HTML5 canvas. Don Bird can tell you that there are many mistakes about this. There are some very subtle things that are very wrong about what we're looking at here, but close enough for Sam to get the idea. So we're actually embedding these glyphs, and we're putting lines on them for the stems. And then as I showed you before, the user can do correction and say, hey, that's not what I meant. So the implementation is HTML5, and the advantage of this is that it will work on, more or less, on any device that you put it on that has a web browser that is HTML5 compliant. Whatever that means. It's still a versioning standard, so it doesn't really mean much sometimes, but it will work on most things. Including the latest, I'm told the latest beta from that one browser from Microsoft will actually work on Internet Explorer 9. I haven't tried it, so maybe. And it will do terrible things to Google Chrome. If you've never seen an all snap error, try and do this user correction on Google Chrome. The code is all markup or interpreted JavaScript, so if you point your browser at iCode.com, you can actually see all of the source code. And we also have, this was a really, really helpful thing to do. We have a testing framework where we can actually record a sequence of ink. So I can draw a bunch of stuff in, and I say, oh, that breaks. And I save that off. And later on, I can replay it. And this is very helpful for testing and for finding regressions in your system. It also can do a snapshot bitmap. It'll say, here's where that rendering was at a point in time, so we can also find regressions that way. So future work, there's a long way to go. The idea of the system was just to be good enough to sort of get the conversation going and spark some ideas. I think the most attention is needed in the classifier. So using a neural network or possibly a support vector machine would be a better way to go than the present system. And to actually train the system on a lot more handwriting other than just V, and to handle continuous symbols such as beam, slurs, highs, etc. And possibly combining handwriting with real-time audio input, so I could hum the pitches and maybe draw the rhythms, something like this. There's a long way to go, and this is, to get this really right is years worth of work. I would like to thank the long list here. Particularly Professors Chris Raphael and Larry Yeager. It's been really amazing just being in the room. Even if I was just a fly on the wall listening to those guys, two guys talk, that would have been a privilege, but to actually be able to interact with them was really amazing. This is very true about my wife. She does. She'll probably call any minute now, telling me both of these things, or implying both of them. She really does love music and hate new technology. Thanks to Don Bird, who has been tremendously helpful, taught me a ton about music notation and the software used to input and represent it. And Sam Daunt, who showed up. I swear he didn't know me before this. He walked in the room and he called me Jerry, actually. For real, right? I'm not making that up. I did. Thank you, all these other people, and especially Katie at the Viking Bean. Those folks feed me with caffeine, but they also, she found Sam a couple hours ago. So. And anyone else I forgot to mention. Oh, my students. I see some of my undergraduate capstone students here. Thanks for turning up. You guys are an inspiration. Teachers, or students are some of the best teachers. Questions, show and tell. Yeah, anyone have anything to volunteer? Oh, yes, we have. Do you want to bring them back to Sam? I don't know. We probably don't have the power to get them up on the big screen, but people can look at them as they're going by, and
I think you can handle this one.
That's good.
It's easier than mine.
Okay. You probably don't even need to look at this one. Don Burt has one too.
This might be scary.
Nah, no problem. Except for the 3 at the beginning that I couldn't get rid of.
Oh. Okay, does anyone want to ask any question or comment to Geoff? This is the time. Chris?
Well, so what's next on the agenda? Where do we need to go most immediately to make progress on this?
I really think classification. I think that's the classification, a much better classifier, and I really think convolutional neural nets are a good way to go, and training data. Someone suggested to do a game of purpose. To get lots of training data. And since this thing, the little training app that I showed you here works on the web, that could easily be leveraged into some kind of game for purpose to get large quantities of training data. So I think those are good. It's sort of hard to say. I mean, the list is so long. Larry said a couple of times, go for the low-hanging fruit, and there's just so much of it. A deer gorging myself in the late fall.
Okay, more? Don?
So what do you think the potential is for using training data for, not for identifying, for shapes and symbols, but for transition probabilities? Are you thinking for
So you mean actually hand-drawn, training the language model with hand-drawn input, or
Oh, I guess I'm actually thinking of non-handwriting.
So so like some corpus of symbolic music.
Right.
Well, we've gone back and forth on this, and it's a really great question. I think maybe you don't really know until you try. But I think, the reason we didn't spend that much time on it is that we didn't think that we'd get much bang for the buck by doing it. And the other problem with, as you know, with symbolic music representations is they're not going to give you, they'll maybe give you the semantics of C sharp, but they're not going to give you sharp symbol C, right? So it's possible that you can cleave all that stuff out, but there's probably a lot of work involved, and maybe some noise comes in from that. But, so I think, I think the jury's still out on that.
Someone down here?
Oh.
Alison?
I don't really have anything to say there. I think it's really cool, and I think it could be very useful for someone who's not necessarily doesn't compose and like it's like a hobby to have available. But I'm wondering if you really are you planning to continue working on it? And
I don't know. You're gonna pay me to do it? Yeah, I don't know. I've got to eat, so maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe. The problem is there's not a lot of money, as Don can tell you, there's not a lot of money in music notation software, so, and I actually already do have a day job writing music notation software, so, and this is a little too pie in the sky for that. So maybe there's some way to marry those two worlds, but I think more likely, if I were to continue this, it would be doing a PhD somewhere someday, maybe.
Chad, last question.
So, I mean, since obviously you feel strongly about composing in the notebook that you carry around.
Oh yeah, why don't I show that?
So
this is my other prop that I forgot, the one that will work actually.
Yeah. So one would assume that your motivation for doing this is so that you might use this software. So
it is selfish interest.
So how do you? Clearly, it's not in the the state that sort of your vision. So what does the vision of this look like so that you can separate yourself from that notebook to use this, or is that something you even want to do?
Well, I think, I'm glad you mentioned separation. I think that there would be no distinguishing. The perfect system, they would be inseparable, conceptually, right? This notebook, I wouldn't know any different, whether it was a notebook or a computer. That's really the
Good luck.
All right, we're looking forward to that. Thank you, Geoff.